Hi guys, welcome back. Another hot day here on the farm. This is going to be more of a quick one, and honestly, it probably should have a trigger warning on it. So, trigger warning, we're talking about invasive species and management of invasive species, and sometimes what happens when you have to manage invasive species. So, a few weeks ago, I did I would call it more of a quickie, just having fun because the rafters of the barn were full of starling fledglings, hollering to be fed, pretty much screaming to be fed. Parents were back and forth feeding them. And I did a quick chat around, the dilemma I have on how we try and balance our native wildlife, not encourage the invasive species, even though starlings are here to stay. And like what to do about it, right? And it did generate a lot of discussion, which was fabulous, right? There was a lot of discussion around, frankly, they're here to stay. They're here in the millions. So what is one piece of property going to do? There are some people who, see them as complete and total pests. There are some people who see them as absolutely beautiful birds, which, by the way, they are. And if you've ever seen a murmuration of starlings, that's those flight patterns in the air where there's millions of them swirling around and doing all sorts of aerobatics. Aerobatics? Did I make that up? I think I made that up. Aerial acrobatics is probably the better word. Apparently now I'm just making up words. So there you go. Aerobatics, I've made up a new word for you. So they are beautiful. And in their natural environment, I would be fascinated to watch them, to see them. In fact, I would probably pay to be a tourist to go see them, which is what I do in some other areas because I'm an avid birder. But here in the US, they were introduced back in the 1800s, and they took off like wildfire, and they are out competing some of our native birds. And that's a shame, right? But at the same time, you're like, okay, Pam, it's been, a long time. They've been here for a long, long time. And they're clearly well established. They're all over the place. They're not going anywhere. What do you do? The world has to adapt, right? And I guess that's the next step of that is the world has to adapt. If they are here and they are and they are invasive, but they've gotten to the point that they're practically native, our native species do have to adapt because otherwise they would be gone. So here comes Denali and Emma to visit. They've decided it's getting too hot in the pasture. I don't blame them. So at any rate, my dilemma is always how much can I do and how much should I just let the world, the natural world be the natural world. And I won't repeat everything we do, but suffice it to say, we limit the opportunity for starlings to reproduce on this property. We certainly have them here. They do live on the property like they live everywhere else, but they're not necessarily as pervasive here. Hi, Miss Emma. Because they are, we do limit their opportunity to reproduce, to really establish a foothold. And apparently nature decided for me, right? Because the other big dilemma for the few birds that are nesting in the rafters is I have barn cats, and barn cats do things that barn cats do. Well, last night apparently barn cats do what barn cats do, and I walked into the barn this morning to no more starlings calling in the rafters. And I do hate that, right? Like there's my head and my heart. My head says, okay, fine, less starlings to continue to breed and overpopulate and outcompete. That's the logic. My heart says these were baby animals that didn't have a chance. Well, I guess they had a chance. They just didn't have a good chance. So I got that all cleaned up, which was not a fun way to start the day. But nature has decided what the outcome of this year's dilemma was going to be. And now I've got a bunch of mama and papa starlings kind of hanging around the barn for the day. And I feel a little bad for them too. But, you know, in all honesty, we are at a point where there has to be, where I tried to do everything I could to protect both baby birds and our native species, and this is the outcome that we had. So I kind of hate giving that update. It's not my favorite update in the world to give, but one of the things I promised when I started this channel is you guys would get it all, right? Good, bad, ugly. So here we are. This one was one of the ugly ones. And I certainly won't go into any descriptions or anything else. We'll just suffice it to say that, you know, if you know, you know, and if you don't, well, not a big deal. You don't need to know. So that's the starling update. You know, there goes one now. I don't know if I caught that. It might have been too far away, but they're, you know, and they'll be fine. They'll be back next year to do the same thing. This is kind of an annual event for me, right? And we've done everything we can to reduce and eliminate the opportunity for the demise of baby birds, but at the same time, if the starlings are insistent on breaking down all the barriers and nesting where they really shouldn't nest, this is the outcome. So I hope you enjoyed some hot, lazy goats. And that's the story for today. So until next time, I got work to do. Bye for now.